Hey guys, Red Eye Gaijin here again. Um, I just wanted to discuss a little bit today the subject of gangs in schools in Japan. And when I say gangs, I don't mean bosozoku, which are sometimes referred to as bikies in Japan, and I don't mean yakuza either, which are basically the Japanese mafia, just in case you weren't sure. But I'm talking about actual gangs, and let me just go back a little bit and talk about my exposure to this. So when I very first went to Japan in the year 2000, I was working in a place called Maebashi in Gunma. So for those of you who haven't heard of Gunma, as far as I know, it's still the only prefecture in Japan yet to be featured in the Lonely Planet series of tourist books. So I guess that sort of tells you a little bit about how inaka this place is. So it's quite, it's off the beaten tracks. But to be fair, it is only about 1 hour from Tokyo by the Shinkansen, by the bullet train. So anyway, I was in Gunma. I was working in a junior high school, and I was placed in a school which was the largest junior high school in the prefecture. And it was the largest in terms of the population of the students. And it also had, I think, the lowest, how should I put this? It was a relatively poor area within Maebashi. So there were a lot of families who were from poorer family backgrounds than some of the other schools. Anyway, so about a week into my role, into my job, I was sitting in the teacher's room. And for those of you who have no idea about the setup in junior high schools, it's like there's a bunch of classrooms for each year, for each form. And then there's a big room where all the teachers go to before and after class. And in my experience, they usually have lunch in there too. And they spend any time that they have free not teaching in these rooms. Anyway, it was actually lunchtime on this day, about a week after I'd started, and all of a sudden the sliding doors that open into this teacher's room slammed open, and about 5 or 6 Sannensei kids, so I think they were about 15, maybe 16 years old, rushed in. And this was a group of kids that I'd already noticed because they were obviously the rough diamonds. Some of them didn't turn up to class, some of them were disruptive in class. I could just tell they were naughty. They all had dyed hair. Some had blonde, some had more of an orangey coloured blonde hair. So they were like little, I don't know, they were the rough diamonds of the lot, But I just thought, they were just little little wannabe punks. And I didn't pay that much attention to it. And to be honest, my perception before going to Japan of high school kids was they're all going to be nerdy, well-behaved, very, very studious, sort of, that was the stereotype of what a Japanese student was going to be before I arrived. Anyway, I was quite wrong, and this group, they burst into the teacher room, and they were looking around for someone in particular, and they started yelling his name, and it was their homeroom teacher, a guy called Sasa Sensei. And as it happened, he was also an English teacher, so I had already taught 1 or 2 classes together with this teacher, so I did know him, and I actually liked him quite a lot. He was probably one of the nicer teachers in that school, to me anyway. Anyway, they were looking for him, and then as soon as they spotted where he was sitting in the room, they rushed over and they literally began attacking him physically, punching, kicking. That's like a gang attack almost. And some of these guys weren't that big because they're 15, but there were 2 guys amongst them which were quite large guys. And if you've ever taught in a junior high school, you know that amongst sort of the guys that do judo and some of the other more physical sports, rugby and such, there are some really big Japanese guys, at least in terms of being solid and muscular and strong. Anyway, they were pretty much beating up this poor English teacher who was their homeroom teacher. And it turned out it was some sort of revenge attack because he had said something to one of the naughty boys during homeroom class in that morning, and the boy had been embarrassed. So these guys, they punched him quite a few times, and then I stood up in awe, just amazed at what was going on. And then they had a couple of the male teachers run over and break it all up and pretty much have to drag these guys out of the room. The police were called, and they came. But that, I thought, what on earth is going on here? This appeared to be, like some sort of gang attack. And the next day, I don't know what actually happened with the police exactly, but I know the next day, the ringleader, who was this short little loudmouth guy with white blonde bleached hair, his father turned up to the school and he was yelling threats at the teachers, just from the entrance of the school, and they'd locked him out, and basically this guy he looked like what you'd imagine a Yakuza to look like, but he was basically saying, if you touch my son or do anything to my son, you better do it to me, because you'll answer to me. No one touches him. Blah 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 blah. So these guys were intimidating the teachers, and they had the support of their gangster father. And I guess that's where it came to me thinking, well, wow, is this Yakuza? And there are a lot of Yakuza in Gunma. But upon sort of further research, talking to some of the other younger male Japanese teachers, it turns out that they're not Yakuza, but they act like Yakuza, and they're basically gangsters. So small time gangsters. They do, they do probably the similar types of crime on a smaller scale that Yakuza do. And obviously their son this guy's son and his friends were all headed in that same direction. So yeah. Anyway, I still to this day have never seen anything like that in Australia, where such a sort of organised attack on a teacher, which is really what a gang is capable of doing. So anyway, I thought I'd share that with you guys, and it might sort of blow away some of your perceptions of what it's like in Japan. Okay, well, I'll leave it at that. Red Eye Gaijin, like me, comment, ask questions. Cheers.